welcome to Mindful Business, weekly discussions about mindfulness, entrepreneurship, and Web3. This live Twitter space is about an hour long. We record it and upload it to YouTube, so it can be played back anytime if you join late or miss it. This is episode 18. This is our first artist spotlight with our special guest 11. I'm super excited. And as usual, I'm joined by my lovely co-host Abby, the creator of Elevate. How are you doing today, Abby?
I feel so good and so excited for today. I'm always excited for our weekly space, but to have our first guest and for it to be 11 in particular, I am feeling kind of just really joyful today. How are you, Sierra?
I'm doing well. I just got back from a crazy Art Basel experience in Miami. I got to meet some of my Web3 and NFT friends in real life for the first time. That was fantastic and amazing. So I'm bringing a lot of positive energy into this new week and feeling super motivated. I think it's so interesting that 11 is our first artist guest that we're having. It's such a small world, and it's really interesting how we all connect and meet each other. We were like mutuals for a while, but we connected directly after 11 won some prizes during our Halloween giveaway that we had with Jana, who's listening in the audience right now. 11 won some prizes during that Twitter space, and we chatted a bit, and that connection blossomed into 11 becoming one of our guest artists for a special NFT drop for Juu Juu Gallery. So I'm super excited to have you here, 11. Welcome. Please feel free to introduce yourself to any listeners who aren't familiar with you as a creative.
Hello. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for this honor. I am just kind of blown away to be asked to be here because both of you guys are definitely role models and people that I look up to in this Web3 space. So just thank you so much for this privilege of coming up here and sharing. Hello, everybody. My name is Eleven, and I am an author in my day life, in real life job. I'm actually a children's writer, and I just followed that dream as far as I felt like I could take it with fulfilling my passions. And when I felt like that I had other sides of myself that I wanted to explore, I really wasn't sure what to do and where to go with that. And I found Web3 and I started exploring my own art again. And I found black and white art was my thing. And it just really opened up this whole new side of myself. And, I'm just really proud to be able to share that with everybody.
That is incredible. Being a children's writer sounds like a really fun and fulfilling job. Something I've always had in my head is like at some point in my life, I want to do voiceovers for like a cartoon because I feel like it would be so fun. And I can't imagine what it's like to like put those stories together. And of course, having your gift for illustration also put beautiful images to accompany some of your writings, I'm sure. Black and white artwork is definitely what you're known for. Really strong, powerful line work, sometimes like really interesting pops of color. When I first saw your artwork, they reminded me of a flash for tattoos. And I'm kind of curious, do you have any of your artwork as tattoos, or do any of your holders use the artwork for tattoos?
Oh my gosh, I love tattoos. I feel like the black and gray tattoos captured my heart, and I would spend days and days just looking at tattoos. And I actually don't personally have any of my artwork tattooed on me, even though when I got 1,111 followers, I let them pick a tattoo to kind of immortalize that this journey was something and that I was committing to this forever. And so I got an XI tattooed on me, and that's really special. But actually, one of my holders did get his tattoo of his flash piece on him, and he actually had the sacred angel numbers, the 111, and that was something that I never thought of in a million years would happen. Um, I love that my art kind of resembles the tattoo flash. That's why I named it the Flash Collection, because I was thinking, hey, tattoo artists, they put their tattoos on these flash sheets. I could do something kind of like that. And so that was absolutely one of my inspirations, and um kind of an homage to what I really loved and was drawn to. So totally.
I have to say, I love that we all, at least as far as I remember, kind of appeared in the Twitterverse around a similar time. I know, at least I was maybe late October, early November last year, and I know when I kind of started bubbling into different scenes in within our little small realm, right, of the NFT community. The three of us seem to be in a lot of the same spaces consistently, and I think even now. And what really drew me to your work, not just your artwork, but your love of writing and your love of storytelling, and this idea of choose your own adventure type of connection to your NFTs that really lit me up. And I think you're such an innovator in the space. And I've really loved following you and getting to know you. And yeah, it's really cool. It seems like yesterday and 10 years ago, all at the same time, because that's just how time is here in Web 3. And yeah, so I don't know if you want to dive into questions right away, or if you want to talk about what you're working on. I don't want to jump ahead of what Sierra, I know she always has great lists in mind, and I'm always fly by the seat of my pants. This is just, this is usually how we work. So I didn't want to, like I said, take over the steering wheel. But what are your thoughts there, Sierra? Do you have questions in mind?
I love you. I wish I could just come and squeeze the hell out of you. I definitely have questions in mind, but we're just hanging out and having a good old time and whatever feels natural and right. I know that writing and illustration are Eleven's primary mediums of expression, but I am kind of curious, do you have other creative outlets that maybe you don't share here publicly, but you indulge in that kind of help you get into your flow?
I let's see. I really like music, but I don't create music. So I wouldn't say that would be something that I would create, but I paint. I used to paint a lot of abstract with like a lot of color, and that's something that I don't share a lot of online, just because I don't know.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. That's amazing. And it sounds like it's such a contrast to the artwork that you are sharing. And if you ever decide you want to put it out there, I'd love to put my eyeballs on it. That's really awesome. I'm curious, like, I know that you're a children's writer, and has this always been your journey? Like, where did your artistic and creative journey begin, and how has it evolved to where it is in the present day?
So, actually, I come from a family of artists. And so in school, I was really bad at all the other subjects. And something that you couldn't be wrong in was art. And I felt like because all of my family members were artists, that was something that I could be proud of, and, like, I wouldn't have, like, my math homework on the wall, but I have all my art, and it meant something in the family. So, at a young age, I found success with my art, but not without backlash. So, um, I would enter the talent show with my art, and they would disqualify me because it was too good. And you're like, "What? How's that work?" It's like, "Well, a 3rd grader can't draw that well." It's like, "Okay, well, do you have to videotape her drawing for it to be worthwhile?" Or, like, nobody believed me. So then I felt like, okay, well, if no one's going to believe me that I'm doing well or I'm going to get disqualified, then I need to figure out what everybody else is doing. And that's really when the whole dyslexia diagnosis was introduced to the equation, because my parents basically were saying, she can make this amazing art, but she can't you know, read the. And so I actually went through this whole process in schooling of understanding how my dyslexic brain is wired and how to work around it. And I spent so much time learning how to be normal that I forgot about art and I forgot about that expression and doing all those things until I was in high school. It was my vendetta against the world to be a writer because my third grade teacher pulled me aside and said that I would never amount to anything. I was stupid and that I would never succeed. And when she said that, it was kind of earth shattering because it was someone who I looked up to, someone who was an authority figure, and then also speaking such negative things over a child, you know, who is doing great in all these other areas, but maybe not doing so great in what they deemed a good area. And so when my parents took me out of school and we did all of those things, they focused on the art because that was something that would build my confidence. But it was never something that I was wanting to make a career out of because I wanted to prove that teacher wrong. I've loved stories my entire life. It feels like my life's purpose. And I thought that if I could just train my brain and teach it to obey, that I could be a writer too, just like everybody else. And when I got my first children's book published, it was like I did it. Like I proved her wrong. I did succeed. I did this and look how amazing that was. And it was a real like life pivoting moment of proving to myself and to that teacher ultimately, but really to myself that I was more than anybody's words. And so, really, when that moment happened is when I started dreaming what else was possible. Like, I was so bullish on that one thing. It's like having a baby. Like, we're pregnant and then you have the baby and the baby's there forever, you know? So, it was one of those things that once I discovered that I could be the, captain of my own ship, I started dreaming. And that's when I started exploring my writing and my art. And I brought it to my team, and they were like, "That's awesome, but you're going to need to rebrand because you are a total children's writer." And so when they said that, I was like, "Well, I don't know if I want to take it the traditional way and fight that battle again." And so I came here to Web3 and I just said, I'm going to be the meest me I've ever been. And the way I felt like I could do that was wearing a mask. Funny enough, I saw other artists doing that. And so I thought it was normal. And I was like, finally, weird people, they wear masks and do art. I can join them. So that really was my excuse to myself of coming into the scene, is just having a space where other people were free to be that weird side and explore themselves.
Finally, weird people. Yeah, if I had to think of three words to summarize how I felt when I got into NFTs, those would be the three words. That is too good. Ah, so many things so beautifully said. As you stated, you can't be wrong at art. Art is subjective. There are different types of art to appeal to different types of people, and art is never wrong. I cannot believe that the elders around you thought that your artwork was too good to be your own in elementary school and disqualified you. I kind of want to see this piece of art that a third grader wasn't capable of making if it's still around. And it's just really sad and heartbreaking to hear that a role model in your life was so critical toward you, but it's also just amazing to hear that your experience with dyslexia did not defeat you, and instead it empowered you to take your writing more seriously. And everyone knows I'm always talking about PMDD on our show, and I feel that way about my PMDD. It's a struggle. It's a never ending struggle. It's a cycle. I live with the feelings every month, but it's empowered me to be a better version of myself. and I can deal with it and I can live through the discomfort and the weirdness. So that is incredible. Wow, this is amazing getting to know you more. Like, this is really awesome. What do you think, Abby?
I love getting to know you more and listening to you speak more. Often we're in spaces where, well, I shouldn't say often I'm in spaces at all, by the way. I haven't really been hanging out in spaces in a while, besides a select few. But when it felt like we were all in spaces quite a bit more regularly, it's a room full of people maybe taking turns talking. So it's really nice to have the focus really settle here. Like we're all on a couch together, and really to get to know you more and more. I know we speak outside of these circles, but to hear more about your story, your motivation, and really the things that drive you are really interesting to me, intriguing to me. I love your branding, and I think it's a really smart idea as an artist, to do something that's really true to yourself, that really shows who you are, and yet you have this mystique about you. You still have a mystery. It makes people want to know more. It draws the person in, and I think as an artist, that's also a really skillful technique. And when I first came into this space, I think a lot of people were more behind a veil of some level on some levels. It once upon a time seemed like a big deal to start to dox, yourself. And I don't know if my circle is just small enough that I just see that more regularly now, or if it really has shifted. But I think weird is wonderful, by the way. So I don't find it to be strange. I find it to be smart and cool and memorable. So that's what I think about that.
I love your PFP, by the way. You mentioned your mask, and your PFP is showing a really awesome mask. And I'm curious, like, if you made it yourself or if someone else made it for you. It's very unique, and I don't see stuff like that quite often. So tell me the story behind this mask.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm not like a total weirdo, but I'm kind of. Like I've had this dream of being like this like mystery artist for like a long time, and I've never seen a path to accomplishing it. And Web3 came along and I was like, it's my moment. Here we go. All team go. And so that's when the start of like the mask hunt began. So I was like, let's do masquerade. And so it was like weeks of looking at masquerades and like looking at all these videos on people making them themselves. And like, okay, I want it to be black and white. Okay, who's done that already? And okay, I'm very self conscious about the way my nose looks. So I'm like, it has to cover my nose, but then I also have to be able to talk about it. So, like, all these things were like rambling through my head. And in the larger story that I have to tell that's coming after my bottle collection, it's like more of a Genesis collection that Abby was talking a little bit about, that's more like dynamic and stuff. It has a lot of masks that are involved in that. So I was like wanting to go whole head, like Daft Punk with it. And then that's pretty complicated, and you need to know your head size. And so it started getting very complicated. And then I was on Instagram one day and I found this um, company in Germany who makes what they called like masquerade jewelry, and it was like jewelry for all over your body. So they had like dresses and bralettes and like arm pieces, and I was like, this is the place. They're gonna finally have something for me. And I found this mask, and it was silver and black beads, and it looks like black and white in the sun, like when it's reflective. And it just gave me chills because you can see my face through it, but it's still that veil of mystery. So it was me. It's still me, but it's just the veil of mystery. And it was so perfect. And it's actually individual beads, so it's very like ASMR, and I can see through it. It did all of my little checkpoints, and it was very mysterious. And so I contacted them and they made it specially to fit my head. I had to figure out the measurements and like convert it to their number system. And my husband had to do it. We had like the tape around my head. It was ridiculous. And then it took 2 months to get here. I was so nervous to get it, and it got here. I couldn't wait. I made my husband, it was a Sunday morning. We went out into our front yard. So I'm standing here in my robe wearing this mask, taking pictures, and my landlord comes out and he's like, "Uh, what's going on?" I'm like, "Uh, uh, uh, I do art online." And that was all I could come up with. And so I was like, we're done, we're done, we're done. So that is how I got my mask and broke it in and took my first pictures. So this is inside my house, even though the lighting wasn't that great. This is a photo inside my house later on that I took of the mask that day.
I I am dead. I love that story. That's the worst feeling. We all know that feeling, right? When you're like so excited to go take a cool selfie or whatever it might be, but this is like over the top selfie, right? With like this is hard to explain. It's not like check out my new ball cap, right? This I
You
want
know that picture that you posted of the Grinch the other day? I was like, that is how I felt.
I do. I love it, but I love that Sierra asked this question. I didn't think to ask the question, but I love knowing the that it was made for your specifications. To me, that always adds this extra layer of like energy to whatever it is you're rocking or wearing. And I want this website, by the way. I want some full body jewelry myself. Please DM me, slide into my DMs. But yeah, I love that, and it no wonder it fits you so perfectly. It just both your energy and physically. No wonder why. That's amazing. I love this.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you are indulging in your calling to be a mystery artist, which is like giving me like Carmen San Diego vibes. Like, I love that for you. And then, like, you clearly spent a lot of time curating this visual look very, very intentionally. And it's super memorable and really unique. And that's amazing. I want to see the photos of you, the original photos of you in your robe getting caught by your landlord out in the yard. Those are the photos that need to surface. But that is really awesome. Goodness gracious. So artists draw inspiration from so many things. It's obvious that your youth experience, your experience with dyslexia has really impacted your creative process. But I'm curious, artists draw inspiration from their families, their personal experience, other artists, music. Can you tell us more about different things in your life that inspire your artwork and creative process? Because I just pinned your Flash 2 collection up, and it's just so interesting the variety of different objects that you chose. Like, you have like a Furby in there. Well, I'm seeing it as a Furby because I'm a millennial and that's what I see when I look at that little creature. But then, like, you have a mood ring and a lava lamp and like a witch, and it's just incredible. So it's like, where do you draw inspiration from to choose all these different shapes and characters?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So, this is so much fun because I think about all this, but then sometimes it's hard to like what I call mind dump information on people because it's like of course have a reason and purpose for everything. My little writer's mind like has filing cabinets everywhere. I feel like Bruce Almighty. I'm like, sure. um, so a lot of my flash, I really wanted to tell my story with the pieces. And so the first collection, I just was drawing on my high school life and like what was going on, all the different things. And this collection, I really wanted to go back to like the childhood. That's why you're seeing like the mood ring and the Furby and all those different things like from the 90s that made me feel like special and magical as a kid and like lit my imagination on fire. So one of the things I used to do is like such a soft, like romantic was like sit out the window and like daydream at midnight, and just be like, I wonder what this story would be, or like see a shooting star and be like, this is a distant planet, and just like make up stories or, like I really loved Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but it was very like taboo. So, like, I didn't get to explore that side of myself when I was growing up. So, it was something that happened later. So, it was like seen out of like the corner of my eye. And so, I really wanted to pay homage to that and like walk people through what it was like to be me growing up, but subtly. Everybody gets, um, I don't know if you guys did, but I did. Nick at Night, like growing up and just like binge watching TV and just like the different things that we would do inspired those pieces. And also the the flatness of my art. I don't know if that's like the right word to put it, but like two-dimensional style and the monochromaticness. I really wanted to reflect words. Like words are my love. They're like my first thing and I wanted my art to reflect that. So the way that they're black and white and flat on the page is really like my way of reflecting the words back in the art.
I was just going through and pinning some stuff up to the top for our live listeners, just so they can see some more of your artwork. I pinned the artwork that you created for the Juu Juu Gallery first birthday holder drop. And I pinned a few photos so people can take a closer look at the mask that we've been discussing, which is really incredible. I have to see this mask in person. I'm sure it's even better in person. So I know you've been in the Web3 and NFT space. It's clear that you are minting and selling your own artwork, but it's also clear that you are actively participating in the space as a part of other communities and you're collecting from other artists and creators. So I'm curious, I super appreciate your kind words, Abby and I both, and we're honored to be role models. But tell us about some other creatives and artists and builders in the space that you admire and that perhaps you've collected work from or that you're actively supporting.
Wow, there are so many amazing people in the space right now. I feel like I could go on for absolutely ever. And most of the people that I would like to mention are in this space right now. Tuesday, Melon Blossom, Marie, Dollytown, um, and then Freaky Girls, the creator of Freaky Girls, is down there too. Like it's a lot of amazing people, but I really have been drawn to some really amazing and dynamic storytelling projects. And one of my favorites right now is Bad Town Tattoos. I think is the right word. Let me look them up really quick. I just had everything like Bad Tattoo Town, that's it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this project is so cool. So you go to her website and she only has certain windows that you can mint a resident of the town. But once you're a resident, it's like you have an access pass to go and see all of the things that she's created in her website. But also she does lore drops for her town and that is how she is actually telling the story of Bad Town Tattoos. On top of that, each of the characters that is minted is dynamic and they have their personal character stories tattooed on them. And so different tattoo traits mean different things in the story. And so it's really cool the way that the artist has curated this whole storytelling experience in a way that's interactive and brings in the individual characters that are being created in the town experience.
I am familiar with that project, Bad Tattoo Town, and I think the spooky officers, one of which you won in the Halloween giveaway, are created by the same artist, and that was like a spin-off kind of one-off Halloween drop. I love her artwork style, and I think it's incredible how she's well, in real life, tattoos tell a story, so it totally makes sense. But I think it's incredible how she's using the technology and kind of updating. I saw that on some of the characters, you can like choose and customize and like maybe based on the experiences you have on the town, get specific new tattoos added. So I guess that would require maybe refreshing the metadata or something like that. Them uploading a new image. So I just think it's so cool how the technology can be leveraged to like just better have a better storytelling experience, as you mentioned. And it's not just like you have to have this static thing that's never changing. Like it can evolve over time, which is really fun. So what so you got into web3 and NFTs, but like what was the transition? Like did someone come to you and say, "Hey, you should check this out. You'll like it." I think you might have mentioned to me that you have a neighbor who talked to you about it or something like that.
So, I watch a lot of Gary Vee, and I'm sure a lot of us do. And last year, he was going really hard on NFTs. And as I was looking for a new area to, I feel like this is so silly to tell this story, but as I was kind of checking it out, he goes, "Oh, I'm really interested in this girl named Sarah in Dallas, Texas." And I go, "That's really weird. My neighbor's name is Sarah, and I think she does NFTs. That can't be the same Sarah, can it?" And so, sure enough, Miss Sarah Bowman is was my childhood neighbor growing up, and we went to each other's weddings. I mean, I like I have so much Sparky jewelry and like things that were Sparky things before Sparky was Sparky. Like it's so crazy the people that you know in your life. And so when we got married and like grew up, I moved to Colorado, and she moved to Houston, and she started doing art and like all this stuff. We just kind of lost touch, and I wasn't really sure what she was doing. And so I started just deep diving, and I'm like, "Sarah, what is this?" And she has some videos out about it that she sent me. And I just kind of deep dived on what her and Gary Vee's viewpoints were on smart contracts specifically. And that was my aha moment. Basically, in my mind, a smart contract was a white piece of paper that could do anything. It wasn't that you could draw on it or type letters on it. It could be a movie, it could be a ticket, it could be like anything you could dream up in your whole world could be on that piece of paper and work. And I thought, how in the world could storytelling be different? How can it be innovative? How can you be involved in the story? And how is this going to be utilized for that? How could I utilize that? How would my favorite authors use this? And so that's kind of what got my brain rolling, is the possibilities of what could be. And then I came into Web3 and I realized you got to code that stuff. And so I was like, well, I have all these amazing ideas and I need to learn how to do some stuff. So I just kind of went back into research mode. I had all my ideas in place and my art and stuff, but I didn't understand how to mint or what contracts were. And so it's been a learning process. And so my first collection, I launched on OpenSea using their contracts. And with my second collection, I was able to actually do my own smart contract and actually able to make it so that each one of the NFTs acts like a token or an ability for the holder. And so each holder of a Flash 2 piece will get 11% off future collections. And I think that's really cool. And I really wanted that to be something that my NFTs could do. And that was a huge jump, from like not knowing how to do it and not having one at all to having friends and meeting people who I could work with and team up with to get those things done and also just learn along the way.
I think that is so badass that you did your own smart contract. I think, the more I listen to you, the more I really realize how really deeply thoughtful you are about the things that you do and what a deep thinker you really are. And that really shows. And it's nice to talk more with you about that and to kind of lift the veil, even though there is the veil and there is that mystique there. Really exciting and inspiring. I think that all of us have been through these, this roller coaster of emotions that have come with being in the space for for each season, right, in the past year. And it can be daunting and draining, but also deeply inspiring. And I think that's the thing that keeps us coming back and keeps us connected with each other. I draw such inspiration from you, from Sierra, from a lot of the people here in this room, in this space. Tuesdays here, Frenchie, of course, Jana, Miss Wynn, there, Dolly, like you said, all these wonderful people here, Melon Blossom. I think it's been such a really a beautiful overall experience, even though we've all been beat to hell by a bear market, right? And beat to hell so much that a lot of friends have fallen off, right, in the year, in the last several months. But there are a few people who keep showing up, and they're in this room, and it's inspiring, and you're definitely one of them, 11. So I just really believe in you and the work that you do, and I can't wait to see things slowly unfold. You're right, it's a process. We all come in hot, full of inspiration, full of ideas. And then, we also have life to navigate and different challenges that come our way. But to see how we do that and keep growing and keep pivoting keeps my internal flame stoked for sure.
I definitely get a lot of energy from watching all of the cool stuff everyone around me is doing every day. It is amazing. Every day I wake up and I'm just amazed by something new, whether it's artwork, some type of software or program. AI is truly amazing and astounding me this last several weeks as several new innovations make their way into the world. And speaking of the world, what a small world. How interesting to know that Sarah, so for anyone who doesn't know, Sarah is the artist of Women in Weapons. And Women in Weapons was created, I believe, around October of 2021. They have done huge volume, over 5,000 Ethereum on OpenSea, and have nearly 6,000 unique owners of their collection of 10,000 women PFPs created by Sarah. So that is really awesome. And I think it just goes to say too that, like, if there's someone, like anyone who's listening to this right now, if there is someone else in this room that you find inspiring and is doing something that you're interested in, but you feel like you don't know where to start, maybe just reach out. Like maybe just like maybe, like hearing this message from 11 about her own journey and being in the midst of so many awesome, talented people. It's like leverage the connections you have. Like if you admire someone, if someone is doing something that you want to learn more about, like don't be shy about reaching out to them. Obviously, if you wouldn't have reached out to Sarah and expressed your interest, who knows if you would be here. And bless her for being generous and sharing with you the information that you needed to get started on your journey. It brought you to this moment, and it brought you to being here with us. So I'm excited and happy about that. So I really want you to tell us about the artwork that you created for our first birthday holder airdrop. I'm super excited about it. I don't want to say it's my favorite of all of our holder airdrops because I really like all of our holder airdrops and we had some awesome artists, but it might it might be my favorite. It might be my favorite, and it might be my favorite because it's a GIF, it's moving, the colors change on it, which gives it, like, this dynamic experience, and it gives it the feeling that the crystal in the hand or floating above the hand could be any crystal that you imagine it to be, since it changes all these colors. I pinned it up to the top so everyone can see it. It's called Crystal of Destiny. So we do holder airdrops for Juu Juu Gallery occasionally, and we just celebrated our first birthday on the blockchain. So a year from minting our Genesis collection. And we wanted to create something cool with somebody awesome to share with our holders. And 11 was generous and creative and made something really cool. I was very intentional about trying not to give much direction and just letting her do whatever felt natural and comfortable. And this is what she came up with. So I definitely want to learn more about how you got here, what inspired you, and anything you want to share about this piece of art.
Well, I was just super blown away that you asked me, first of all. So I felt like I really wanted to really showcase you. Even though you had asked me to collab with you, this was your moment. And I really wanted to somehow have like the finger subtly showing like a number one. So that was something that I worked on a lot. I knew it was like a hand or something like that. And I really love your story. Like we mentioned earlier, we've been, kind of casually following each other's journey since kind of the beginning. And I am a total crystal head. Like, oh my gosh, I have crystals everywhere. I have a crystal grid in my, kitchen. I've got crystals everywhere. I mean, I'm like, honey, here, put this in your left pocket, put this over here. Now take this piece of sage. You need this. And like, I am totally that girl. So when I found your shop and I understood, like, okay, this is like Web3 going into the real world, like I got it. And I'm like, okay, they're going to the moon, like immediately past the moon. I'm in love with it. And so I really wanted to showcase that in the piece. Like you said, it really could be any crystal. And I wanted to show that you can like pick out of crystal, and that this is something that connects the imaginary to the physical, or the web to the physical. Like there's a reaching motion. So I tried to capture that as well. And then I know you had mentioned when we connected, the iridescence, or like the glowing of it. And so that was something I had thought about from the beginning, and I hadn't ever done that before, like the glow. I've done the changing color, but I've never mastered the glow. So that was something that I really worked on. And I know I sent you that first like edition, or the first try, and it was just moving and kind of floating, and it was okay, but it just wasn't it for me. And you were so sweet. You're like, it's great. And I'm like, it could be better. So I once I sent it to you, it's kind of like when you step back from a piece and it's like you walk away and then you come back in the room, you see it with fresh eyes. I was like, oh, I don't have to make every single section like change colors. I can make the whole thing glow. And what if I made it blurry? Maybe that would look like a glow. And so it was just trial and error of trying to make that image that I had in my head get itself onto that Procreate. And it finally worked itself out. And I'm so happy with the way it came out, and the little poem that I was able to kind of put on there. I try and put a little something, a little trill of words on there from my heart. And I feel like the ones that came out when I was done with this piece were really, really special too. I'm looking for them.
I was going to ask if you're comfortable reading the poem, you're more than welcome to. But if not, no pressure.
Absolutely, yes. Oh my gosh, Abby, she reposted it. Thank you so much. So, okay, so I just want to preface that reading in public is not my forte, and that this is not a reflection of, of my abilities to write. I promise I've seen this piece of paper before, but it's just the way my brain works. Okay. Soaring alongside the stars in their earthly home, celestial bodies orbit crystalline bodies, Shining and shifting, they discover their destiny has always been in reach. One only has to reach out and seize their moment. This is yours. I wasn't so bad after all.
I love that. I hadn't noticed that there was the poem with the artwork. And of course, there is. I hadn't noticed it. And that was really beautiful. And I love hearing your process again about the thought that you put into that. I'll let, obviously, it's for Sierra's project. I'll let her comment on it. But I wanted to jump in and just say again, it's really, I'm so happy that we're doing this in this format this week. It's really cool to sit down and get to know you more and just, again, how your mind works and the thought that went into it. It's a really cool piece.
I absolutely love it. And Abby, you are a holder here of Juu Juu Gallery, so you have this piece of artwork, as does Jana and a few other people in the listeners who are Juu Juu Gallery holders. So I feel really excited that I was able to share this. I feel like it's incredible, and I love the little detail that you mentioned, like down at the bottom around the wrist area, there are the little diamonds along the wrist, and then very subtly you can see the 11 there. And although it's subtle, it did stand out to me as like, oh, that's her signature. And I love it. It's amazing. I love the poem. I love that there's the motion within the image and then the poem within the description. It's like, it's just a lot of bang for your buck. And considering the fact that it was a free airdrop and no bucks were exchanged, I think it's an amazing, amazing NFT that nearly 40 people now have in their wallets and get to look at and enjoy. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate you, and I'm sure everyone who's received it appreciates it as well. Now that we talked about this crystal artwork, I feel like I have to ask you, given the fact that I know you have your own crystal collection, and I don't know, asking somebody what their favorite crystal is when they have a big collection is like asking somebody, like, what's your favorite child? So I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but do your best. What's your favorite crystal right now? Given that it's also a full moon, and maybe like you brought out something special for the full moon in Gemini.
Oh my gosh, you are so right. I have so many, but I am a real citrine girl. It has my heart. I just love the color. I love everything about it. And every single time I see one, I'm like, there's my baby. I need to buy you. Okay. So I have quite a bit of citrine in my collection, but I also am really attached to this completely perfect cube of pyrite, and it's just so perfect. It's like a little bit smaller than the palm of my hand, and it just feels like home. Like when I hold it, I feel just so grounded and like, okay, it's here. We're gonna be okay. We're all gonna be fine. Like whatever craziness is happening right now, it's gonna pass and it's gonna be okay. But I'm so glad you reminded me because I was so excited for our space tonight that I forgot I need to get all the babes out and get them lined up for tonight. Get them for their bath in the moonlight.
Public service announcement. Please stop what you're doing. Round up your crystals. Get them ready for a moonlight bath. But hey, there's lots of other ways you can cleanse your crystals. I will just throw it out there. If you don't have the time, energy, or stamina to gather up your babies and put them out in the moonlight tonight, you can always run some water over them as long as they're water safe. Like, don't dunk your selenite or your fluorite in water. You can use incense, you can use sunlight. So don't feel too pressured about this full moon if you're listening and playing this back and you've missed the opportunity, since I know this will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. So, we're approaching our hour. We're going to be closing out shortly. But before we close out, I really wanted to ask, kind of for a piece of advice for on behalf of artists everywhere. And personally, I can kind of get a bit anxious around putting new stuff out there. Sometimes I end up being too much of a perfectionist and kind of get stuck in this cycle of never ending tweaks and adjustments. And it gets tough to reach a final ending point that I'm happy with. So, what is a piece of advice that you can give to artists who are feeling insecure or nervous about maybe releasing their artwork for the first time?
I would say that those are very exciting feelings, right? That means you're trying, and that's really cool. I know that it's intimidating, and I too am a person who definitely gets lost in the detail. And I was even confiding into Marie, who's down in the listeners section, that I sometimes am feeling that way about the art that feels like this is important. This has to be perfect. And, one of the things that she was reminding me is that, there's always an undo button if you're on Procreate, you know, and, there's not always an undo button in real life, but there's gesso, like you can always try again. Nothing is like final. Like remember why you came into this space, right? Like it's the excitement of sharing your art, not what other people's interpretation of your art is. And so I think that one of the most freeing things for me coming into this space was is that I had no preconceived ideas for what to expect. I just was proud of myself for what I was doing and what I was able to put out. And it was the the joy of doing it that made it worthwhile. And then no matter what I created, it was worthwhile art, and I found happiness in it. And then I also this is so silly, but I give myself permission to be done with a project and put it away for like 3 days. Or like if it's writing, I'm so superstitious, but like I don't want to see it. I don't want to be able to see it like laying out on a shelf. So I used to hide it under my mattress. I would like have the pages printed out and I would put them under my mattress. And I'm like, there's no book here. I'm just a normal person living my life. And then when the bug would itch and I would be like, oh, I'm gonna grab my book and I have this, I would read it back out and you read it with different eyes. I'm like, I am amazing. Did I write this? I'm like so good. Like I should be published right now. I'm like 10 years old. But you know what I mean? Like it's those things that you look at your art with those eyes, and there is a time for the critic, but not when you're creating.
I personally love that advice. I hope you don't mind if I jump in. I love that advice. And I think it's really valuable to step away. And I love that you like hide it from yourself, like completely out of sight, like lock it away, so that you can take a breath and get fresh perspective. Right. And then, yeah, if you're still like, oh, in 4 or 5 days, need to tweak it, fine. But yes, often we come back and you're like, oh, fuck, that was really good. So I love that advice.
I love that advice too. I feel like sometimes it's hard to like, I don't know, you kind of go down a rabbit hole with something and you're looking at it all the time and you get super critical of it. And it is important to just and I say this to say this goes for everything in life. Like when you're at a point with something of like ultimate frustration and being flustered or like I don't know where to go from here, or like you're just feeling a bit lost, like it's often a signal that like maybe you just do nothing for a moment. Like maybe you just it's okay to just do nothing for a second and just chill. Some of us struggle with that a lot. I am a part of that, some of us. I struggle with that a lot. So at times it's okay to just like let it chill, let it sit, like revisit it in a day or a few days, like just sleep on it, breathe on it. So thank you for that reminder. I think a lot of us want to be productive and get stuff done all the time and are in overdrive. So it's important to have a reminder that like it's okay to give things a little rest and revisit them. So as we approach the final, moments of our space, please, 11, if there's anything else you want to share regarding any current artwork that's available or any upcoming drops that you want to make us aware of or any upcoming collabs, now is the time and the floor is yours.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I am currently working on my Time in a Bottle collection. I have been working on it for about 8 months now, and I am very, very proud. I've been working with my editor. It started out as a short story project and it's turned into a little bit longer story project. They're still short stories, but longer than I thought. And I'm just really excited for next month. So yeah, I'm going to be gearing up, and there'll be a lot of bottles in the future. So get ready for bottles to take over the world. I'm really excited for some of my friends' projects that are coming up, and I love being in this community. I know that Marie is minting right now. I know that Dollytown is minting right now. I know that Melon Blossom is working on an incredible collection that is reflective of women behind the man. So it was like the second in command to all the firsts. And it's just something that I'm really looking forward to. And also, I know that Freaky Girls is still minting right now. And these are just all amazing projects. And I feel like that the more we shine on everybody, like the better this whole community grows and becomes. And so, yeah, I would love to do another collaboration with anybody who is looking for a collab partner in the meantime. I know that Frenchie and I are kind of in the talks of working on something right now, and that'll be coming out hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. I don't want to put any time crunch on ourselves, but it's just really exciting to be working in different fields with new artists and friends. So that's what I've got going on. I did want to say to any writers in the room or anybody who is struggling with dyslexia, as far as writing goes, get comfortable with change. Just get it on the paper. Um, I always say, excuse my language, but it's okay to have that shitty first draft as long as you have that first draft. It's really important to, capture those moments because you can always change them later. And you will be so surprised how many revisions your favorite books have gone through. I am a part of book projects and teams for many other book projects, and upwards of 26 full revisions are done on some of these manuscripts, and to the point where we have done 10 revisions and the people go, we're scrapping it and starting over from scratch, and you're like, okay. It's all part of it. It doesn't mean that was bad. It doesn't mean any of that groundwork that you laid out before erasing all that or starting over was bad. It's a part of the journey. And it's as long as you can embrace the journey, you're going to have an amazing time. And I think that the same thing goes for dyslexia. Our minds work differently, and we weren't meant to think the same way as everybody else does. And once you give yourself permission to be a star and to think the way your brain was meant to think, it's a superpower.
Really beautifully said. Thank you for that. And I'm sure we do have some other writers listening. That is incredible advice. I know that writer's block is real. I know that stress and hard times and trauma comes up in life and can make it hard to get things out on the paper. Yeah, writing can be tough for some of us. Writing is not everyone's natural method of communication or expression. So, having those reminders that it's okay to erase, it's okay to do a million drafts. Like, thank you for those reminders. It doesn't need to be perfect the first time. And the beauty is in the journey and the process, right? And I guess a part of a part of the beauty is learning to enjoy and love the process. And I guess that's the cheat code for life, because the process is never ending. This has been really incredible. You are such a multifaceted and dynamic and talented person. I feel honored to have you here and to showcase your artwork. I'll pass the mic to Abby if she has any closing words or thoughts, and then we'll start to wrap it up.
I just want to say I'm so grateful for your time, your energy, and that you agreed to be the first guest here on, this introduction to this ongoing mindful business space that Sierra's been hosting. I've been co-hosting with her. It's really cool to have you as the first guest. Wonderful to get to know more about your thought process and just to really take a deep dive into sharing some space with you. And I look forward to watching you grow and continuing to see what comes next. And I appreciate your friendship very much. And thank you, as always, to you, Sierra, for hosting and for all of your energy and hard work in making this podcast happen and happen so beautifully. I appreciate you immensely.
It is my privilege and honor. I look forward to this every single week. This was our first artist spotlight, but it will not be the last. We will upload this to YouTube so it can be shared and circulated. For anyone who joined late, you'll be able to play this space back. It is recorded. Thank you so much, 11, for sharing your energy and your experience with us tonight. Sending you lots of good juju and lots of love. Thank you to all of our listeners for sharing their time and energy. We'll see you next week. Have a good evening, everyone.